What is happening in our country? You know, while the Congress debates on whether they're going to have January 6th hearings, because that is the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. There's never been anything like this, and white supremacists are coming out of the woodwork. Are they? Are they? America, it is time for you to say bull crap. Bull crap. If there are Klan members or other people that are coming out and they're rallying, then you rally against them. But it's most likely a local thing. And you know who they are if they're in your area, and just shun them in your local community. This is a problem in America with racism. It is a problem. But it's a problem in Great Britain, in Africa, in China. It's a human problem, not a white or black problem. It's a human problem. Anybody tells you differently, tell them, shut the pie hole. Anybody who tells you you have to be a part of anti-racism, that goes against everything Martin Luther King taught, and your mother would be ashamed of you. Ashamed of you if you turned your back on a colorless society. Remember what your mother and your father taught you. What's happening in America? Well, I was shamed by the ADL back in 2008. I did a chalkboard, and I laid it all out. And I told you then, the hatreds of the 1930s in Europe will return. First, they'll return to Europe, then they will come to the United States. The hatreds of the Jews will return. The ADL said, "How dare you? How dare you use the Holocaust?" I said, "I'm not using the Holocaust. I am warning people to change their hearts and to be aware now and to make a decision now if you will stand for the Jew." Now is the time. America, those of you who have been prepared in this audience, now is the time. I want you to call your synagogues. I want you to call your church. I want your church to be around your synagogue. I want them to know that this is a safe area for you. Oh, man. I have been asked not to tell you, I don't agree with the reasons, but the people who have asked me, I deeply respect. I have been asked not to tell you the details of what Jewish people have done in the Middle East to help the Christians, the persecuted Christians. It is one of the most inspiring things I've ever heard. And the reason they are helping is because they said, Christians stood by us. How can we not stand now in their hour of need? Well, here in America, the Jewish people need our support. Luca Robert Lewis, member of a pro soccer team, the New York Red Bulls. He said, last night I was walking in New York with a friend, and all of a sudden a group of 6 to 8 Palestinian men walked up to me and asked me where I was from. I responded. I said, New York. Then one guy asked me if I was Jewish. I paused for a moment in confusion, and I thought about it. Then I saw them withdrawing knives, so I obviously said no. The guy looked at me with such disgust in his eyes and said, good. As he started to walk away, I felt extremely angry. I felt like I had to say something. I said, what if I was Jewish? One guy that had a knife in his hand said, I'll beat the effing S out of you and kill you. This soccer player is Jewish. He is Jewish. The hatred of the 1930s has arrived. 2 Jewish boys Two teenagers. They were walking near Ocean Parkway in Brooklyn. They're 17 years old. Two unidentified males approached them and demanded that they repeat anti-Jewish statements. I can't tell you the names of these kids because they don't want their names out, because they and their family are afraid. They were told to chant "Free Palestine." They refused to do so. Why were they singled out? Because they were wearing their yarmulkes. They refused to say "Free Palestine" and were immediately assaulted. Both victims were punched in the head. 17-year-old was placed in a chokehold. They tried to get away, but they were chased by a guy with a baseball bat. Oh, how do we know this is even true? They're probably making that up. No, we leave that to actor thugs in Chicago. This one was witnessed. A rideshare driver saw it unfolding, pulled the car up and said, "Boys, do you need a ride? Get in." This is a horror story. This is a horror story because eventually you won't want to get involved. If you don't get involved now, you won't get involved. By the way, they couldn't call anybody, and it was unusual for them to get into a car because it was the Sabbath. That's why they were walking. The hatreds are returning. Jewish family leaving a synagogue, walking with a man and his wife and his daughter, when a crowd appeared, started to throw garbage at the family. They started screaming some derogatory things towards Jewish people out the window. "Free Palestine," "Die, Jew," "F you, Jew," "I'm going to rape your wife." At first, my first thought was just making sure my wife and daughter were behind me so I could take the brunt of anything that was going to happen. That's when an armed stranger intervened and got in between the family and the men until they left. The guy in the car behind them saw everything going on. I saw him pull a gun and get between me and our attackers. He was our guardian angel protecting us. I think once they saw him, they just took off. In Florida, there is a 40% increase. The Anti-Defamation League, which should be discredited, reported people inside the van with the anti-Semitic graffiti, including messages like "Hitler was right," yelled slurs at pro-Israel demonstrators in Boca Raton, Florida, before they drove through the crowd last week. There are attacks on our Jewish friends and neighbors, and they are afraid because they've seen this movie before. And I know how to stop the movie. Here's how you do it. You remember what you actually believe, that all men are created equal. All men are created equal. And even if you don't like or you disagree with the person, you stand for their right because you are a brother to them. It is your responsibility. I can't believe this, but I'm doing research on old radio shows from the 1930s in Germany. What did those people say to try to bolster? Where did they miss the mark? We don't have to miss the mark. The problem with Germany was that the churches had already gone dark. In 1933, when Hitler took power, he immediately went after the churches. You couldn't, by 1934, you couldn't have a picture of Christ on the altar. You had to have a picture of the Fuhrer on the altar, and most churches went along with it. Our churches are being indoctrinated now with critical race theory. They are being taken down one by one with wokeness, all in the name of tolerance. You cannot cross lines. If you don't stand up for people who are being chased in the streets, if you don't, as a church, stand up, you will find yourself on the wrong side. This is becoming a final warning soon. We are going to lose about 50% of our congregations. We might lose 50% of our churches. We'll be lucky if that happens. It was far higher in Germany. Within the first year of the takeover, he had scared churches and Christians, and with all the indoctrination that was happening, many of them believed it. They were getting ready, the churches were getting ready to dismiss and destroy the Old Testament because it was written by Jews. I got news for you, Adolf. So was the New Testament, not just the Old Testament. My Jewish friends, I want you to know that I and my family will stand for you. We will stand in front of you. It will be an honor to stand for you. Just as many of you have stood for me. I don't do it because you did. I do it because it's right. Many Americans have prepared themselves for this insanity. I and my family will hide you, will protect you. But long before, God forbid it ever gets to that, we will speak out on your behalf. We will walk with you as you go to the synagogue if need be. Many Christians have learned from the past. We are not the Christians of the past. You are my brother, and I will protect you just as I would if you were my blood brother. You are my spiritual brother. Your family is my family. My home is your home. Please, America, please rally your churches now. Be clear where you stand.